I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about former UFC fighter Darren Till predicts Khamzat Chimaev UFC future, has a surprising take for Khamzat Chimaev, toughest fight in the welterweight division. Former UFC fighter Darren Till is confident that his friend and training partner Khamzat Chimaev can still reach championship heights widely expected of him at 170 pounds, the welterweight division in UFC. Chimaev, the current number 3 ranked welterweight contender, appears to have an uncertain future when it comes to his divisional placement. Is he a middleweight? Is he a welterweight? 205 pounds, light heavyweight? While Chimaev was tapped by many to steamroll his way to the top, having decimated Li Jingliang and outpointed Gilbert Burns. Those plans were stalled last September. Although Chimaev left Las Vegas with another victory, his it wasn't a late notice bout. It was a okay. I'm gonna skip that. His fight versus Nate Diaz at UFC 279 had to be changed to a catchweight fight versus Kevin Holland because Chimaev was supposed to face Nate Diaz in the welterweight division. Chimaev ended up showing up like 178 pounds, 177 pounds. So he was overweight. So they had to change the main event of UFC 279 from Nate Diaz versus Chimaev, because I guess Nate Diaz was not going to do like no catchweight thing. He's like, nope. They had to change it from Chimaev versus Nate Diaz to Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. So Chimaev didn't make weight in his last fight. With that, talk has frequently turned to a possible transition to welterweight, to the welterweight division, a fire that Chimaev himself has also fueled. But according to Till, who has developed quite the friendship with Chimaev since linking up with him back in Sweden in 2021, Chimaev remains a future UFC welterweight champion. To get there, though, the Darren the Gorilla Till suggested Chimaev will have to go through his toughest test in the division, and it's not Kobe Covington or Kamaru Usman. Till changes his tune on Chimaev's toughest test. During a recent interview with an MMA reporter, Till assessed Chimaev's future on his future in the UFC. While Chimaev welterweight status remains somewhat up in the air, Till is still tipping him to have the 170-pound gold wrapped around Chimaev's waist. Man, this article's taking forever. Although the Liverpool native has previously pointed to his former champion Usman, the two-time title challenger Covington, as the biggest hurdles on the journey towards Chimaev becoming the welterweight champion, Till believes that the mantle now belongs to reigning kingpin. I mean, come on. I think he's going to be the welterweight champion. Chimaev is. I really do. Till said before assessing the landscape at 170 pounds, I've changed my mind on who's going to be his toughest fight as well. I used to think Usman on Kobe would be Chimaev's toughest fight. I actually think Leon could be his toughest fight just because of Leon's takedown defense and Leon's striking ability. That's interesting. If I had to say his toughest fight in the welterweight division, I think it would be Leon. I'd like to see Chimaev get one more fight before Chimaev fights Leon, or potentially fight Leon straight away. Wow, okay, is there anything else in this article that we really need to go over? I'm going to say no, let's just skip the rest of the article. It just took too long just to get to that part, right? I mean, it's, it's kind of easy. That's that's kind of easy way to say that Chimaev's toughest test in the welterweight division is the current champion. That's just too easy of an answer. I personally don't think, if you look through the entire welterweight division, that Leon Edwards is Chimaev's toughest test. I still think, Kobe Covington would be an extremely tough test. I think Usman would still be, a tough test. I don't really want to jump on the hype train, but if there's a quote unquote dark horse toughest test, it would undoubtedly be Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? I mean, no one says it. Literally, no one says his name. Like, I don't think it's because maybe people can't pronounce it or they just not like afraid of him. But Shavkat Rakhmonov is a legitimate problem. The kid is 17-0, no decisions. He won all of his fights either by TKO, KO, or maybe a submission. I don't know if he got submissions, but he finished every single fight he's been in, 17-0. I think he's the ranked number 6 ranked middle welterweight right now. So Shavkat Rakhmonov is my, and I guess, I wouldn't say he's the toughest test because, we have to see where he's at, but he's my dark horse toughest test, right? When you look at the welterweight division, he could be a real problem. Jack Della also coming out from, the top 15. He's someone people need to be looking at. But I would also say right now, I still think Kobe Covington would probably be Chimaev's toughest test in the welterweight division. But let me know your opinion of this story. Who do you think is Chimaev's toughest test in the welterweight division? We're not going to go into the middleweight division because we weren't really talking about the middleweight division. Obviously, there's a lot of tough a lot of tough tests in the middleweight division for Chimaev. But let me know who you think is Chimaev's toughest test in the welterweight division. I would say Kobe Covington, and I would say my dark horse toughest test would be Shavkat Rakhmonov. But I'm Jason UFC. Today we had a story about former UFC fighter Darren predicts Khamzat Chimaev UFC future. Says Chimaev's toughest test in the welterweight division will be the current welterweight champion Leon Edwards. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.